I'm Matt Guichard, and this is No Holds Barred. In this episode, we're going to talk about something that we've probably all done a number of times, and it's going to surprise you, the number of deaths and injuries that result from this activity. What is that? It's jaywalking. In the state of California, there is a California Vehicle Code section, and it specifically relates to jaywalking and why you shouldn't jaywalk. And what is jaywalking? It's interesting, under the Vehicle Code, if you are walking in an unmarked area of the road where there's controls at each end of the block. So let's say there's a stop sign at one end of the block, that's a controlled intersection, and there's a traffic light at the other end of the block, that's a controlled intersection. If you cross in the middle of the block, that's jaywalking under the Vehicle Code. However, if one intersection is controlled and there's no control at the other intersection at all, and you walk in the middle, that's not jaywalking. You can do it. Guess what? They're both equally dangerous. And why is that? Well, because people, when they collide with a 2-ton vehicle, often come out worse than the vehicle. And the idea is safety. The whole reason for the rules about jaywalking is pedestrian safety, and actually also motor vehicle safety. I often say that, ask people, what is the number one cause of death of human beings related to animals? Guess what? It's people getting killed or injured by a deer coming through their windshield when they're out on the highway. Well, the same thing about jaywalking. You think about that. Goodness, somebody steps out into the street, a moving car hits them, they go up onto the windshield, perhaps into the vehicle itself. So there are all kinds of reasons why jaywalking is not a good thing to do. In California, the initial fine for jaywalking is $196 plus fines and penalty assessments. Now, I will say, in speaking with most police officers and the traffic court people, it's rarely something that people are cited for. But a number of years ago in my hometown, there were lots and lots of people that were being injured, and some fatal injuries, for jaywalking, and the police began a program of encouraging people not to do it and ultimately citing people. And what was happening? Well, somebody would park on the side of on one side of the street and quickly run across to the ATM, get some money and come back, and what's the harm? And nobody was injured, nobody was hurt. But it turns out that people were hurt and injured. So there's a reason for the rule. Now, what has happened recently, the legislature in California has passed a new statute, and I want to read in principal part what that is, and it's Assembly Bill 2147, the freedom to walk. It's to legalize jaywalking. Now, it doesn't really legalize jaywalking. It legalizes jaywalking in a safe manner. And that's not stated in the statute what a safe manner is. So we're going to see probably lots and lots of lawsuits in the future about somebody who was walking across a mid-block somewhere and they were struck. Whose fault is it going to be? The vehicle's fault? Or the person was walking saying, I have a right to jaywalk? I mean, the legislature passed legislation. Let's just read a little bit of what it is. Unless a reasonably careful person would realize there is an immediate danger of collision with a moving vehicle or other device moving exclusively by human power, like a bike or a scooter, that's not jaywalking. So, a reasonably careful person would realize. So, a reasonably careful person must realize the danger. Well, how do you realize the danger when you're walking across the street and somebody is speeding? They're doing 80 in a 25. okay, whose fault is that? Well, certainly the person doing 80, but you shouldn't be out in the road anyway. You should be careful. That's why we have sidewalks. That's why we have crosswalks. That's why we have illuminated crosswalks now, to alert vehicles to somebody crossing the street, even where it is safe. So with respect to this new assembly bill, we're going to see lots and lots and lots of litigation. I do want to say that in 2018, nationally, there were something like 893 deaths, pedestrians who were jaywalking, and somewhere in the neighborhood of 14,000 injuries. So lots more injuries. So it is a dangerous thing. Otherwise, we wouldn't have those statistics. I think in 2021, the number went up to almost 1,000 deaths. But as you can tell, no matter what this statute says, you shouldn't jaywalk. Look out for your own safety. And that means use all the safety devices that pedestrians have at their disposal. Press that little button, it says walk and walk. And you know, you can be cited actually for walking against that walk sign when it's red and you step out into the intersection and walk in a crosswalk and you're struck. You can be cited for that. So lots and lots and lots of reasons why being safe as a pedestrian, looking out for your safety. I will say, unrelated to jaywalking is oftentimes people stand on a corner waiting for the light to change, and they're right there with their toes over the edge of the sidewalk getting ready to go, and a truck with wide mirrors comes by and knocks their head. So I just say that because there are so many ways pedestrians need to watch out for their own safety, and first and foremost, don't jaywalk. The moral of the story with jaywalking and the rules is California has the highest number of all the states of people injured in jaywalking and pedestrian accidents. Stay tuned for our next episode of No Holds Barred.